Due to the Dexit cuts in Sword and Shield, certain forms of legendary Pokemon that are tied to generational gimmicks have been deleted from the game, never to be seen again. In Gen 9, we were introduced to 2 more legendary Pokemon with forms tied to the generational gimmick of Terra, and those forms will likely be removed as well. However, with Pokémon Champions, we will gain access to the Omni Ring, an all-in-one gimmick device implying that these generational gimmick-tied legendary Pokémon forms will eventually come back. Since most of their base forms have still been in the game, they have been and will be receiving updates in the form of new moves, access to new items, and access to other new Pokémon as partners. So in this video, I want to take a look at these Pokemon and discuss how I theorize they will function in Pokémon Champions restricted formats. First, we have Primal Groudon. I think most people would agree that regular Kyogre is better than regular Groudon, but Primal Groudon is better than Primal Kyogre. Primal Groudon gains the fire typing, while Primal Kyogre stays mono water. Desolate Land causing water moves to fail is a lot more useful than Primordial Sea causing fire moves to fail, since Primal Groudon normally has a 4 times weakness to water that gets nullified, while Primal Kyogre already resists fire. Precipice Blades has 10 higher base power than Origin Pulse, and the 50 points that they both gain to their lower attacking stats is more useful to Primal Groudon since it has much better special options than Primal Kyogre has physical options. In VGC formats where Primal Groudon was legal, players typically used a combination of either Fire Punch or Eruption for Fire Stab, and Precipice Blades or Earth Power for Ground Stab. In Sword and Shield, Groudon got access to 2 important moves, High Horsepower and Heat Crash. High Horsepower is a great single-target physical move that can be used in the place of the special Earth Power, which was previously Primal Groudon's main single-target ground move. Heat Crash is generally not a very consistent move since it's weight dependent and regular Groudon doesn't get stab, but Primal Groudon is quite literally the perfect user of this move since it's fire type, sets sun, and is the 3rd heaviest Pokemon in the game at 2,204 pounds. This move can be used in place of the 75 base power Fire Punch, where it will deal 120 base power damage on all Pokemon Ho-Oh and lighter. Primal Groudon also now has access to Flutter Mane and Chien-Pao as allies, both of which would make for nasty combos. Sun activates Photosynthesis, allowing Flutter Mane to fire off Icy Wind for speed control, and Chien-Pao has Sword of Ruin, boosting Primal Groudon's damage output to insane levels. Moving on to Primal Kyogre, I actually don't really have as high hopes for it as I do for Primal Groudon. Like I said in the last entry, Primordial Sea nullifying fire moves isn't all that useful if you already resist it, and those 50 stat points into its attack stat feel really wasted with Kyogre not having very many good physical moves to actually take advantage of it. It also lost a valuable move, Scald, which was one of its only reliable single-target special water moves. Since Kyogre's main attacking moves of Water Spout and Origin Pulse are both spread, its stab gets walled by Wide Guard, which has become increasingly more common in the horse-infested restricted meta, so these days it has to run Hydro Pump, which is inaccurate. I guess it could use the physical liquidation, which is kinda like what Primal Groudon did, where it used single target special Earth Power when it didn't want to use the spread physical Precipice Blades or Earthquake. Primal Kyogre is obviously still amazing, but I'm just saying it's not as amazing as Primal Groudon, which was not only better when it was originally legal, it actually got some useful new moves, unlike Kyogre that just got Chilling Water. In terms of new allies, there's Urshifu Rapid, which not only appreciates the rain boost to its surging strikes, but it applies pressure on your opponent to not protect. Rillaboom, which can provide fake out support and passive healing with Grassy Surge, and it appreciates not having a fire weakness. Archaludon, which appreciates its electro shots being able to fire off in one turn. And Tornadus, which isn't a new Pokemon since it was around when Primal Kyogre was legal, but it was given a new move, Bleakwind Storm, that has perfect accuracy in the rain, along with being able to provide speed control with Tailwind, whose speed boost is now dynamic, something that wasn't the case when Primal Kyogre was legal. Next, we have Mega Rayquaza. While Mega Rayquaza is generally seen as the most broken Pokemon of all time in singles since it doesn't need to hold a Mega Stone, its lack of reliable spread damage and opportunity cost of taking up both your restricted slot and your Mega slot keeps it from that title in doubles. In the two formats that it was legal, VGC 2016 and 2019 Ultra, it wasn't the most used restricted and wasn't even the most used Dragon Flying type Mega Pokemon from Gen 3 since that was Mega Salamence. Due to Mega Salamence having higher speed, not taking up your restricted slot, having the same typing but access to stab spread damage and single target damage with Aerolite, Hyper Voice, and Double Edge, Mega Rayquaza wasn't automatically the best Pokemon in the format. It typically runs the set of Dragon Ascent, Extreme Speed, Protect, and kind of a flex fourth move, typically either a setup move like Swords Dance or Dragon Dance, or a coverage move like Earth Power or Overheat. Like Primal Groudon, it can comfortably go mixed with 180 attack and special attack, so if it lacks a good physical dragon move, just go special. Speaking of not having good physical dragon stab, it actually was given access to Scale Shot and Breaking Swipe in Sword and Shield, and since it can hold an item, it has access to the loaded dice. Other items it now has access to are the Clear Amulet to get around Intimidate and the Covert Cloak to get around Fake Out. It also got access to U-Turn in Gen 9, which will help immensely in the weather wars that these formats will inevitably become. Like Primal Groudon, Chen Pao would be a good ally to boost its damage output, and something that's a bit gimmicky but worth mentioning is an ally with Dragon Cheer, a new move that boosts the partner's crit ratio by 1, 2 if it's a dragon type, so Scope Lens Draco Meteor could be a viable strategy as well. Next, we have the Mega Mewtwo's. Regular Mewtwo has really gotten screwed over, with it now being completely outclassed by Calyrex, and when its Megas were legal, they were B-tier restricted mons at best. Like Mega Rayquaza, the cost of using up your restricted and Mega on the same mon is really high, and neither of the Mega Mewtwo forms really have enough payoff to be worth it, with Mewtwo having no spread moves and terrible ability options. Like seriously, Insomnia, Steadfast, what are we supposed to do with these? The Mega Mewtwo's will have access to some fun new tools and champions, but I still don't have high hopes for them. The main one is Expanding Force, with Mega Mewtwo Y having the highest special attack and 6th highest speed among all users of the move at 194 and 140. Even with this high of special attack, the fact that it can't hold an item makes a timid Mega Mewtwo Y Expanding Force weaker than a quiet Life Orb Hatterene. A modest Mega Mewtwo Y Expanding Force is weaker than timid Life Orb Calyrex Shadow. Expanding Force is also walled by Dark types, which Mega Mewtwo X can hit for super effective with Stab Fighting, but it doesn't even learn Close Combat, the best fighting move in the game. Using Mega Mewtwo X also means that your physical Psychic Stab is limited to Psycho Cut and Zen Headbutt since it doesn't get Psychic Fangs. Insomnia and Steadfast are just absolute jokes for abilities on a Mega, and the Mega Mewtwo forms would unironically make good partners to Weezing because of that, but you know who else makes a good partner to Weezing because its ability straight up can't be nullified? Next, we have Ultra Necrozma. This form of Necrozma was only usable for one format in one game, which was VGC 2019 Ultra Series in Ultra Sun and Moon. This was probably the highest power level format we've ever had since it was before Dexit, so it included all Pokemon and mechanics up until that point. The way that Ultra Necrozma works is very similar to Mega Evolution in that one of the two Necrozma fusion forms has to hold an item, the Ultra Necrozium Z, and it clicks the Ultra Burst button on the move select screen. It will then turn into Ultra Necrozma, where it becomes Psychic Dragon type with a 754 base stat total, not quite 780 like Mega Rayquaza and Mega Mewtwo. It can then use its signature Z move that replaces Photon Geyser, Light that Burns the Sky, which I should mention has a really hard Japanese name of Heaven Scorching Light of Destruction. This is a 200 base power psychic move that ignores abilities and can be either physical or special depending on which stat of the user is higher. Like Mewtwo, Ultra Necrozma also now has access to Expanding Force, And while it does have lower special attack and speed than Mega Mewtwo Y, it has an actual useful ability with Neuroforce, and it doesn't take up your Mega slot since Ultra Burst is a unique form that's separate from Megas just like Primal forms, but it does take up your Z-move slot if you use Light that burns the sky. Even then, Ultra Necrozma just has 2 more special attack than Calyrex Shadow with 21 less speed and has to use an item. So, if Calyrex Shadow is legal, I really don't see Ultra Necrozma or Mega Mewtwo having much of a use since Calyrex Shadow can do what they do without needing to use an item and without taking up a Z move or Mega slot. I could be wrong though, so let me know what you think. Next, we have Xerneas, which I know isn't tied to a generational gimmick, but due to its absence in Scarlet and Violet along with Yveltal and Zygarde, I do still want to talk about them. I think the scariest part about Xerneas is the fact that its power doesn't come from a generational gimmick, so it never has the issue of opportunity cost like Mega Rayquaza and Mega Mewtwo since that uses up your Mega slot, and Ultra Necrozma since that uses up your Z-move slot. All of them except Mega Rayquaza also have their item slot taken up, another issue that Xerneas doesn't have, which allows it to use the Power Herb and have its signature move Geomancy work in one turn to give it +2 special attack, special defense, and speed. With Pokémon Champions, Xerneas will have access to some ridiculous tools that will push its power to extreme levels. The most obvious one is Terastallization, which allows Xerneas to boost its fairy moves so that they one-shot just about anything that doesn't resist, and probably even some things that do resist, or it gives it ground coverage, something that perfectly complements Fairy's offensive resistances. As an ally, a timid speed booster energy Fluttermane just outspeeds a modest +2 speed Xerneas, so Fluttermane could supply Icy Winds to basically guarantee speed control if your opponent has Tailwind up, while having its fairy moves boosted by Fairy Aura as well. Chi-Yu boosts Xerneas' damage even further while also supplying fire and dark coverage. Xerneas also got access to Draining Kiss in Sword and Shield, and while Terra wouldn't give it the 60 base power boost that Terra usually provides since Fairy Aura messes with that, all other modifiers in place will still make this move deal loads of damage that Xerneas can heal back to itself. For Yveltal, the fact that it's still the only Dark-type restricted legendary automatically gives it a use, and it's finally something that isn't outclassed by and actually counters Calyrex Shadow. It has kind of a neutral matchup against Calyrex Ice, since Yveltal hits Psychic for super effective with Dark, but Calyrex Ice hits Flying for super effective with Ice, so it's really just a matter of who has the speed control. Yveltal didn't really get access to any new moves, but due to it already having access to some pretty good moves and the meta just changing a lot since it was last legal, it's put in a pretty favorable position. It can punish physical attackers with Stab Dark Aura boosted Foul Play, punish special attackers with Snarl, attack with increased priority with Sucker Punch, heal itself with Oblivion Wing, control speed with Tailwind, and pivot with U-Turn. Obviously not all at once since it has to pick 4, but it's nice to have some options. It has access to some great new Dark-type allies that can take advantage of Dark Aura with King Gambit, Brute Bonnet, Chen Pao, and Chi-Yu. Chi-Yu would be especially good since it provides a passive boost with Beads of Ruin in addition to Dark Aura, and with Chi-Yu being part Fire type and Yveltal being part Flying type, they only share one weakness to Rock, making the overlapping Dark type not as much of an issue defensively. Since Flying pairs perfectly with Ground offensively, and since Flying is immune to Ground, I could see a partner with Earthquake like Ursaluna working out as well. Lastly, I was gonna include Zygarde anyway since it's part of the Aura trio, but it also has a new gimmick form to talk about, Mega Zygarde, which will be the focus of this entry. Mega Zygarde is definitely in the conversation as the most broken Pokemon of all time due to its insane stats and signature move, but we really can't say for sure until we see it in action in a turn-based game like Champions. So for this entry, I'm going to discuss 2 possibilities. One being if Mega Zygarde appears in Champions the same way that it appears in Legend ZA, in discussing how it has the potential to break the game. The second being that Mega Zygarde is reworked in Champions, and discussing how I theorize it's made to be more balanced. For Scenario 1, Nile Light as we know it in ZA is the most broken move of all time, and it's not even a little bit close. This move is 200 base power, 100% accurate, 10 PP, spread damage, non-contact, bypasses opposing stat changes, bypasses protect, and bypasses Fairy's immunity to Dragon. This is coming off of a 216 base special attack stat, by the way. You can't protect, wide guard, raise special defense, have a fairy type to be immune, or even PP stall it since it's 10 PP instead of 5. Mega Zygarde makes Urshifu look like a fair and reasonable Pokemon. The only things that Nile Light doesn't ignore is Light Screen, drops to Zygarde's special attack, the Dragon damage reduction in Misty Terrain, and Steel type's resistance to Dragon, all of which will become necessities when this thing is legal. While Zygarde does have a high opportunity cost of using your restricted and Mega, and can only Mega Evolve once it loses half of its HP, it's absolutely worth it when you consider that a Mega Zygarde Nile Light hits harder than a Choice Specs Terra Ghost Calyrex Shadow Astral Barrage. The difference in special attack and move base power is just that high. For Scenario 2, I think it would mainly just be a nerf to Nile Light, with Mega Zygarde's stats probably remaining the same, making it a 200 base power Hyper Beam that doesn't bypass Protect, easily balances Mega Zygarde out, since a recharge turn is a pretty big drawback, especially since Zygarde will likely have some of its HP gone already, and it has a 4x Ice weakness. And those are Gimmick legendary Pokemon, and how I theorize they will function in Pokémon Champions. Let me know which one you're most excited for, and which one you think will be the strongest. Anyway, if you want to support me and my channel, just leave a nice comment since I do read all comments. You can also become a member for 99 US cents a month to get a badge next to your name and early video access like all of these lovely people. If you want bonus content, check out my second channel, Extra Bell, where I post videos I've scrapped from the main channel, as well as more casual, unscripted videos. Likes are also one of the ways that YouTube determines if a video should be passed around to more people, so if you feel that this video deserves to be, I would appreciate it. Thanks for watching.